Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Tuscaloosa. I'm Ruth Van Lillian, the minister. We are a covenantal community founded on love and a common devotion to our free faith. As the days lengthen and spring peeks out from behind the robes of winter, let us welcome each other into this virtual space. We especially welcome those visiting with us today. We're so glad you are here. We invite you to connect with us through the comments or on our Facebook page or website. Our mission and ministry are to invite all into a welcoming community, to inspire in all a free and responsible spiritual journey, and to involve all in building a just and peaceful world. We join with all member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association in affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Black Lives Matter.
Good morning. I'm Anna Schuber, this morning's lay service leader. There is a link to our order of service in a video description below, along with other useful information. Our church website and Facebook page have information about our new online activities. Also, members and friends should read all the Newsnet emails, the weekly e-blasts, and the monthly online newsletter to stay updated on congregational news. The Prelude prepares us for the service.
We invite you to light a chalice of your own at home. This might be a simple candle in a bowl or something more elaborate that you've made or purchased. We light this chalice as a beacon of our faith and as a reminder of our commitment to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We worship together, though we are at a distance, by celebrating that which is sacred to us, individually and collectively.
Our opening words are Fearful Joy by Rabindranath Tagore. Is it beyond thee to be glad with the gladness of this rhythm, to be tossed and lost and broken in the whirl of this fearful joy? All things rush on, they stop not, they look not behind, no power can hold them, they rush on. Keeping step with that restless, rapid music. Seasons come dancing and pass away. Colors, tunes, and perfumes pour in endless cascades in the abounding joy that scatters and gives up and dies every moment.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Sitaram Jai Sitaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Sitaram Jai Sitaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Iswaralla Teranam Sabko Sanmoti de Bhagwan.
Ishwar Allah Teranam Sabko Sanmoti de Bhagwan.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Sitaram Jai Sitaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
Sitaram Jai Sitaram Patita Pavan Sitaram. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
This is the time in our service when we share with one another our concerns and our celebrations. If you're watching live on Zoom, you can put your joys and concerns in the chat now. This morning, we are remembering the family of several of our members who live in Texas and are struggling with the cold there right now. We also want to continue to remember the tornado victims here in Alabama in the Fultondale and Center Point areas. Several of you contributed supplies, which I delivered last week. If you are still interested in contributing, you can send a check to the church or donate online, marked for the minister's discretionary fund. I'll be sending a check to their community ministries organization. Deb's friend is home from the hospital after COVID-related pneumonia. And we are celebrating with Susan's brother Frank, who has just moved to a new home north of D.C., and we will miss him, and we wish him well, and we wish Susan well in having her house back to herself. Let's spend a moment in silence, and I will close this with a few words. Amidst the whirl of activity that our lives often are, let us find some moments of peace, of silence, Let us remember to set aside such time as we can to center and ground ourselves against the chaos. Let us remember to find the joy in that whirl, in that chaos. There is much to celebrate, even as there is struggle and there is sometimes difficulty. Let us remember the strength we find in our community together. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be. I'll light a final candle for all the joys and concerns that went unspoken today. Good morning. So glad you could join us today. I hope you've been having a good weekend. This morning I want to tell you a story. It's a special story from a tradition called Zen Buddhism. See what you think of it. One day, a young Buddhist was on his journey, and as he came along toward home, he came to the banks of a wide river. Staring hopelessly at the great obstacle in front of him, he pondered for hours just how to cross such a wide barrier. Just as he was about to give up his pursuit to continue his journey, he saw a great teacher walking along the opposite bank of the river. The young Buddhist yelled out to the teacher, "Oh, wise one! Can you tell me how to get to the other side of the river?" The elderly teacher looked up one end of the river and then back down the other side of the river and looked back at the young journeying Buddhist and yelled back, "My son! You are on the other side." Now the question for you is to ask yourself, what does this story mean to me? Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Out of gratitude for all we have been given and all we have now, we share our resources because we love and trust each other, and because this church enriches our lives and empowers us to make our world better. We rely upon each other, members and friends, and we appreciate the payment of pledges and the generous donations to support the legacy, vision, and work of this church community. Contributions may be made by credit card, by using the link below, or by mailing checks to UUCT. All non-pledged contributions will be divided between our Split the Plate recipient organization and our congregation.
worshipper, lover of leaving. It doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come even if you have broken your vows 100 times. Come yet again. Come. She always wore orange, head to toe. Her name was Sushila Ananda, and she was the only Hindu Swami I've ever met. She looked a lot like me, pale skin, blue eyes, and she came from the Midwest somewhere. As a young woman, she had been attracted to the Hindu faith, and she studied and traveled, seeking further knowledge and wisdom. She found herself a guru to teach her, along with other students, and they followed him around the world, Europe, Asia, South Africa. He kept moving on, and they all kept following. Finally, she told me, in self-defense, he made her a Swami and told her to go teach others. Somehow, she found her way to Birmingham. She worked as a hospital chaplain at UAB for a while, and that's when I met her. And she got involved with the local Hindu community, and she taught me a lot. "Why orange?" I asked her one day. She smiled and said, "It is what we wear. It is the color of fire, the fire that burns us up and purifies us." "Even your underwear?" I asked, smiling slyly. She just winked and said nothing in a Swami-like manner. The third source of our living tradition is wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Setting Christianity and Judaism aside, which are included as the fourth source, the three largest religious traditions in terms of followers, and of which we have probably all heard and perhaps even explored personally, are Buddhism, Islam, and Hinduism. There are, of course, other religious movements, and we will look at some of them another time. One of the best reasons to learn about another religion is to gain a different perspective on the human condition and on human experience. All humans have much in common. We are unified by our anatomy and our physical needs, by our hunger for social interaction, our curiosity about our environment, our need to understand what we observe, our awareness of the passing of time and of ourselves as mortal creatures, and our wonder about where our inner selves come from and what happens to those selves after our bodies die. Religious belief and tradition arise out of these human experiences and out of our need to understand and explain these mysteries. Unitarian Universalists include such shared wisdom as an important source of our living tradition, because we acknowledge and celebrate that no one tradition holds all the answers. Indeed, all the collected wisdom from the dawn of human existence is still not exhaustive. As long as humans roam the earth, and perhaps beyond, there will be ongoing revelations of truth about the great mysteries. Unitarian Universalists have brought with them, or discovered within particular congregations, new theologies and spiritual practices different from their own previous experiences. And they also discover that the UU Church is the perfect religious laboratory in which to learn about other perspectives and new practices as a means of engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, in keeping with our fourth UU principle. Rick Heller, a Boston area journalist and Unitarian Universalist, wrote in 2007 about the Henry Thoreau Zen Sangha, a Buddhist community affiliated with the Newton UU congregation in Massachusetts. That congregation now supports 2 Buddhist meditation groups that practice mindfulness in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition. He has spoken with UU Buddhists around the continent about their religious practices. They have talked about the emergence of a Western Buddhism that provides Unitarian Universalists with a tradition of spiritual practices, and about the appeal of UU congregational life for Western Buddhists. Heller emphasizes Buddhism's fundamental insight into the problem of suffering. When they gather weekly, sitting on pillows in the sanctuary as part of their ritual, the Newton UU Buddhists sometimes chant a blunt acknowledgement of human suffering called the 5 Remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. Here is a way to explore some of the mysteries of human existence. Why do we suffer? Does suffering serve a purpose? Can we learn and grow from our suffering? Can we avoid suffering? Retired UU minister Reverend Penny Rather, a graduate of the Buddhist Naropa University and my own seminary, the Iliff School of Theology, is quoted in Heller's article. One of the little platitudes that actually feels true, she says, is, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Following a Buddhist path does not get rid of pain. It does not get rid of death, but it can alleviate the suffering. Heller also offers these words from Lafayette, Colorado, UU, Annie Leggett. A lot of Unitarianism is very dry and arid. There is a missing piece for me. It's the lack of an inner focus. I appreciate the intellectual aspect of UUism, but I miss having a practice that gives me a deeper connection to myself. For her, and many Unitarian Universalists, Buddhism is the religious tradition that fills that spiritual gap. For other UUs, the world's great religious traditions offer a mirror in which to examine their beliefs and a lens to focus attention on the faith they grew up with, to see if it still fits, and if not, possible ways to alter it and find truth and meaning again. Retired UU minister and lecturer at Stanford University, Reverend Scotty McClellan, tells his powerful experience of encountering Hinduism on a theological study trip to India during college. In the course of our travels, Indian Muslims taught me how to prostrate myself in prayer, facing Mecca. Jains fed us milk, fruit, vegetables, and berries, a diet based on their belief in strict non-violence. Sikhs showed me how they wrapped and turbaned their uncut hair. Zoroastrians explained the towers of silence, where they placed their dead to be consumed by birds, a practice that avoided defiling the sacred elements. On a field trip, I sat near the Bodhi tree, said to be descended from that under which Buddha achieved enlightenment. Hinduism, the world's oldest religion, seemed to have spawned virtually all these traditions, or at least tolerantly embraced them for a time. McLennan writes of spending the monsoon season in the home of a Brahmin priest and his family, sleeping next to the puja or chapel, hearing the naming of 108 deities every morning, smelling the incense behind his mosquito netting. He was so moved and impressed by his experience that he resolved by the end of his stay to become a Hindu. No, the priest chided when McLennan made his announcement. You've missed the point of everything I've taught you. You've grown up Christian and know a lot about that path. You know almost nothing of Hinduism. Go back and be the best Christian you can. McLennan pleaded that he would not fit into the Orthodox Christian community. Then go back and find a way to be an open, non-exclusive Christian, appreciating others' journeys on their own paths. The more I learned about others' paths, he explained, the more it would help me progress in my own. McLennan's Presbyterian college chaplain gave up on him after that and suggested he check out the Unitarian Universalists. He explained that it was a free tradition, appreciative of all the world's religions and prescribing no dogma or theological doctrine. That meant people could put different adjectives before the words Unitarian Universalist, including Jewish, Christian, humanist, agnostic, or Buddhist, among others. They were all welcome. Many people arrive at the doors of a Unitarian Universalist church in retreat or in recovery from their religious upbringing in this country, and that means almost always some brand of conservative Christianity. But sometimes people bring one of the world's other religious traditions with them into their UU experience. Anisha Sheikh published an article in UU World summer of 2019 about her experience as a young Muslim discovering Unitarian Universalism around age 13 after a long, unsatisfying search for a spiritual community. I was newly separated from the faith I was born into and had never been more confused about what I believed, she wrote. Sheikh was born into a multiracial, multi-ethnic household to a Muslim father and a mother who converted from nominal Christianity. As a young adolescent, she began to question the basic tenets of her faith. She searched the internet for some kind of religious community where she might fit in and stumbled upon a blog about Unitarian Universalism. And their description of the community seemed exactly what I had been looking for. She looked up the nearest UU congregation, and the following Sunday her parents dropped her off at the front door. I was greeted immediately by a somewhat confused-looking member of the congregation who asked me what I was looking for. And I said, well, I'm kind of Muslim, kind of atheist, and really confused, so I guess I don't really know. To my complete surprise, she put her arm around me and she guided me into the sanctuary, saying, "I think this is just the place for you." Sheikh had indeed found a religious home, and within a year she had convinced her whole family to try it out. We still keep Islam very close to our hearts, and it will always be a part of our mixed up, complex family culture. But we are all very different people, and Unitarian Universalism gives us the freedom that we all need to develop our deeper beliefs and figure out what works for us as individuals. It significantly changed the way I live my life. It made me more mindful and reflective, taught me to think more inclusively about the big picture, and opened doors to otherwise inaccessible opportunities. The world's great religious traditions are rich with wisdom, inspiration, and fresh perspective. While we want to be very careful about borrowing from these in a respectful way, without asserting assumed privilege and misappropriating practices from other cultures, we are blessed with wonderful opportunities from these and other religious traditions to both enliven and deepen our intellectual, ethical, and spiritual lives. Hear again these wise, welcoming, challenging, comforting words from 13th century Muslim Sufi mystic Rumi. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vow 100 times. Come, come, come yet again, come. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
Broken my vow, over your times, though I've broken my vow, over your leaving, though I've crossed my vow, though I've crossed my yet again not despair. Broken my yet again over your times, though I've broken my vow, over your leaving, crossed my vow.
Please read with me the words at the bottom of your screen. As we extinguish this chalice flame, let us remember that we carry the light within ourselves, which brings healing to a broken world and hope for the days ahead.
Siblings and kindred, life is indeed a fearful whirl of joy. And whoever we are, wanderers, worshipers, lovers of leaving, and whether or when we have broken our vows, we are welcome here, and we have much to take into the world. Go in peace. Amen.